So this segment's entitled Distance to the Sun. All right. Because people say to me, oh, Z, you keep telling me that there's no way the sun's 93 million miles away. And I just basically say, well, I don't know how far away it is, but what I do know is nobody knows how far away the sun is. See, at least your buddy Z could admit when he doesn't know something. I'm not a lunatic Jesuit academic who's going to try to tell you that I know how far away the sun is. So this is Nathan reviewing a couple of globies, doing what globies do.
If you know the answer to this, I suspect you probably do, though. I know that the way we measure our distance to the sun is to,
take a derivation of a flat Earth radial value and then take Kepler's ideas of orbital motion and Huygens' ideas that the Venus trajectory has a scaling use because Venus has the same radial value as Earth had when deriving that measurement with the equatorial minimum by way of an elevation angle measurement to Polaris on a flat Earth. That is the hit.
Okay, so let Z kind of, interpret what Mr. Oakley just said right there in only a way that Mr. Oakley can do. He's basically letting everybody know that they tell you that the reason we know how far away the sun is because there's a phenomenon that happens that anybody could observe right here on Earth. Venus transits the sun. Okay, it happens every so often at a certain periodicity. It could be predicted, etc., etc. So you can see in a daytime sky, you can see a little black dot go across the sun, right? Which is Venus. What they tell you is they assume the Kepler version of orbiting planets in heliocentrism. And then they further assume that Venus has the same radius of our supposed Earth globe. So the Venus globe apparently is the same exact size as Earth globe. And based on that, based on this assumed size of Venus and the size of it, the angular size as it crosses the sun, that they can derive distance to Venus and thus distance to the sun.
The light traversing the sky, occulting the sun. That's all it is. It's the transit of Venus. It's a little tiny dot moving past the sun. How complicated can it be? You don't know how he did it? It doesn't matter how he looked at it and observed it. What matters is he assumed that light had the same radial value as Earth when measured as a flat plane.
They assumed that that little light in the sky that we call Venus has the same radius as the supposed Earth radius. How? Why? Well, your guess is as good as mine. Maybe Nathan will let us know.
That's the actual crux of the important bit. The assumption that Venus has the same radial value. So we can apply that radial value for Venus, Earth's twin, to Kepler's orbital motions, which don't have any scale. You don't have anything to give you scale until you make an assumption, which is precisely what Huygens did. You just don't know your own rhetoric.
Mr. Oakley, unintelligent man you are not, good sir, because he nails it. Do you see how they do it? This is always the part of my show where I wished the Globies would pay attention, because they keep telling me the math works, the math works. Yeah, the math works when you make up a model and then apply the math to your made-up model. How's this, guys? When something is far away and you have no ability to know its size or distance, there's nothing to derive. What are you saying, Z? What are you saying, Z? What I'm saying is when we look up at the sky, unless you are there measuring the distance or the size, you cannot figure out the distance or the size. You need one of those factors. Well, here, one of those factors was assumed, the size of Venus. And as he said, The model proposed by Kepler of orbiting planets is not scaled. Now, it may be scaled in things like astronomical units, as we'll find out here, but there's no way to apply distance to these supposed planets without assuming one of the variables.
And use the angular size, because they knew the relative distance between Venus. Well, they knew that Venus, I think, is what, 0.72 or 0.78 astronomical units from the sun, and we're 1 astronomical unit from the sun, to kind of get an idea based on angular size about how far the sun is.
So based on Kepler's astronomical units, after you've derived the distance by getting an AU, that's the process, isn't it, Bob? It sounds like Bob doesn't actually know this process. He sounds like he's bullshitting around it.
So you can use that distance between Earth and Venus.
Or what distance? You've got to infer the distance through Kepler and his scale, and the way you can get an actual value is by inserting a presuppositional value for the scale that you're going to use with Venus. Angular size won't give you distance. You need to either know the distance or know its actual size. That's what you need. And you don't have either, Bob, do you?
And it was actually pretty accurate.
No. It won't give you anything. There's no accuracy by way of just looking at the size of something by way of its angle. That doesn't give you anything. You either need to know its actual size to begin with or its actual distance. And you don't have either. Huygens assumed Venus had the same size as Earth. Do you not know this, Bob? Why is it I, the flat earther, have got to actually fill you in on your rhetoric? He made a, and I quote, ingenious assumption. That's how it's documented, Bob. Huygens' ingenious assumption that Venus had the same spherical R value as Earth. Why haven't you told Peterson that? Are you withholding this, or are you just ignorant, Bob?
And that's called nailing it. Much love, Mr. Nathan Oakley. You can check him out at Nathan Oakley 1980 or the Nathan Oakley Live channel.